Today for dinner, I'm making a sandwich. This is a sandwich that I love, and it is known as the world's best sandwich. We're gonna be making a banh mi. Tofu banh mi is a pretty common banh mi, and this particular version is a super high protein tofu banh mi. We're using tofu soy sheets. This is a little bit different than soy skin. These are thick sheets of tofu. They're 180 calories per 85 gram, 18 grams of protein. We're gonna probably double up by about 160 grams per sandwich. So I wanna weigh out 36 grams of protein. And for this sandwich, it's gonna be a little bit of a process. We're making most things from scratch. We're gonna make a couple things from scratch, but most of it's a waiting game. So it's not something that involves a ton of work. This is all pretty easy. Now, I'm just gonna set this aside. We'll work with this in a minute. I'm gonna make the liquid that we're gonna marinate this in. And this marinating liquid is based off of a Good Eats recipe. We just need a small little food processor or blender, like a bullet blender works perfectly fine. 3 cloves of garlic, handful of cilantro, just toss it in. 2 tablespoons of agave, a couple turns of fresh ground black pepper, teaspoon of coriander, 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, about 2 to 3 inches of lemongrass, 2 of them, so 6 inches of lemongrass chopped up, and then 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, maybe 1.5 tablespoons of coconut oil. And boom, there we go. And this actually, let me give it a little taste. Tastes awesome. I mean, it's a pretty killer sauce. So at this point, I'm just gonna kind of lay these all out, brush both sides of these sheets with this sauce. Cut these guys into strips, probably 3 strips actually is what it looks like. And then the rest of the sauce that's in here, I'm actually gonna toss in just a little bit more soy sauce. So kind of pick up the rest of the ingredients in here and then just pour this over the top. That's perfect. Squeeze that down in here, throw the lid on, and then just toss this in the fridge for the rest of the afternoon until we're ready to go. I'm gonna clean this up and then we can make our bread. It's gonna be super easy. All we need to do is add 1 cup of warm water, about 110 degrees, to a large bowl with 3/4 of a teaspoon of active dry yeast. I'm gonna add a little bit of agave, just a tiny little dash to the yeast. It's gonna help bring them alive. Let those activate over about 15 minutes or so, and then we're gonna stir in 2 3/4 cup of flour. I'm using a mix of all-purpose and bread flour. Now I ended up adding a little bit more water. This should be a very wet dough. Let this sit for about 20 minutes covered in a warm area. Once it's sat for a bit, we're gonna roll it out onto a floured work surface and then just quickly pull and fold. We're only gonna pull and fold about 4 times. All of the kneading for this bread is gonna be autolyse. So we're gonna barely create the gluten. We're gonna let the gluten be created on its own. Once that's done, we can set it aside and let it rest for about 45 minutes, which is plenty of time for today's sponsor. So a lot of you know the changes I've been through over the last few years. I have a new way of eating, new mindfulness, new workouts. I've fallen in love with running, and I've gotten really into fixing the damage that I did to my body over the first 40-ish years of my life. And I wanted to learn more about my nutrition and my gut health. And that's where Zoe comes in. Zoe is a science and nutrition company that helps people understand how their body uniquely responds to food through cutting-edge testing and research. Science says your gut impacts everything. We're learning more and more about this every single day. Your gut influences digestion, energy, metabolism, immunity, and even mental health. That's why I'm testing my gut with Zoe's Easy at Home kit to see what's actually happening inside. This is awesome. See, I fasted through the morning and ate a couple of specialized cookies throughout the afternoon, did a really simple blood test, wore a CGM, and then did the final gut test. The cookies are really cool because they can track to see how long it takes my body to process foods, which is a key gut health marker. What I love best about this, Zoe's research comes from over 100,000 people in the biggest gut health and nutrition study ever. They prove everyone responds to foods differently. That's why generic diets don't work. Zoe's science helps you make food choices that work for your body. These tests were incredibly easy, and I'm so excited to get the results and the data that I can share with you in a later video and find out what foods are actually good for me. So gang, join me and take the first steps to better health. Click the link in my bio and use code SauceStache10 for 10% off your Zoe testing kit. Zoe, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for making understanding my body so much easier. Okay, we're back. A ton of gluten has formed. This is fermented. It's risen up really nicely. We're just gonna kind of keep repeating this process of folding and kind of building up this bread. So all I'm gonna do is just pull this into a large rectangle. We're gonna add about a teaspoon of salt and then just fold, bring it back out as much as you can. So a couple folds. It's looking pretty good, pretty happy about this. We incorporated some salt. Probably should have put the salt in on the second folding section instead of this one, but that's okay. So this dough ball looks good. We're gonna go one more time, rising before we move to the next step. So drop this in, about another 45 minutes. Okay, this is it. We're ready to roll. I mean, almost. We have one last proof. Dough is looking perfect. I'm gonna get a baking sheet. I'm gonna take my towel that I have here and we're just going to fold this up, a little separator, so that way we have two individual places for our bun to rest. So I'm gonna divide this right down the middle. All I'm gonna do, just gonna kind of gently work these from the middle out into a long bun. I am going to kind of fold these over just to kind of smooth the top out here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set that smoothed end right onto our baking sheet. And we're gonna do the same thing here. The second one came out so much better than the first. So at this point, I'm gonna cover these up, let them rest. They need probably about an hour, another hour to rise. That's gonna be about it. I know this is taking all day, but again, it's all resting time. We're gonna preheat the oven to 475 degrees. I'm gonna throw a cast iron pan on the bottom rack and then another baking sheet on the middle rack upside down. Once the oven's preheated, everything's ready to go. I'm just gonna take a razor blade and make a few angled scores across the top of the bread. I'm gonna pull out the heated baking sheet, remove the towel from my current baking sheet, and pull these over so that way they can sit on the top of the baking sheet. I'm gonna throw about a half of a cup of ice cubes into the cast iron pan. Those are gonna steam up. Toss these into the oven. We're gonna bake them for only 20 minutes. While the bread is baking, we're gonna prepare our meat. I'm just gonna throw a pan on the stove over like a medium-low heat with a bit of olive oil. Bring that up to heat and we're gonna toss a little bit in at a time. We just wanna brown this on both sides. Now I'm gonna take about a quarter of this tofu meat and we're gonna make a pate. And that's gonna be just as simple as throwing that into a small food processor with a little bit of soy sauce, about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And we're just gonna keep pulsing this down until we get like a paste. But once it gets thin, it's gonna be pretty watery. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna transfer that into a container, toss this into the fridge. That's gonna thicken up exactly like a pate. The buns are done, the meat's almost done. I'm gonna prep up just a few cucumbers, a jalapeno. I'm gonna slice them pretty thin, crack to it on the top. So we're gonna make 2 sandwiches for dinner tonight, one for Monica, one for me. Ooh. Yes, look at that. Now you can make them all in one, but honestly, it's just gonna be easier to make it 2 sandwiches, 2 separate sandwiches. So I'm actually gonna make mine and Monica's just a little bit different. For me, I like the extra mayo, extra pate, so I'm gonna do mayo on both sides and pate on both sides. Monica's just gonna get mayo on one side, pate on the other. She doesn't like as much sauce as I do. Now for the tofu meat, this is gonna get divided up evenly. Not sure how hot these jalapenos are, I'm a little nervous. We'll find out. Now I normally make my pickled veg, the daikon, radish, and carrot, but today I was kind of in a hurry, so I didn't make it. But I got it from down the street, little Asian market. Then all we need is a little shot of sriracha, a couple sprigs of cilantro. This is a serious sandwich. This is one of my favorite sandwiches. The Banh Mi is voted one of the best sandwiches in the world. This version right here is, I mean, it's phenomenal. Tofu Banh Mi. Let's see what Monica has to say.
Right.
Here we go, baby.
It looks amazing.
Banh Mi. Banh Mi it up.
Which one do I grab?
Yeah, any one of those. That half's yours. That sandwich is yours.
Okay. Yay.
This Banh Mi has 36, about 40 grams of protein.
Okay.
Sheer, good protein.
Here we go.
That's awesome.
This is awesome. The tofu is delicious. It tastes kind of like a substitute for like pork or something. Like it does have like a really good like bite and snap, like a meaty like kind of texture, but like light. And then it's really refreshing with all the veggies in it. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I love it. Let me taste the tofu by itself.
Yeah, I wasn't going for any sort of like meat substitute. I was just going for Vietnamese inspired, Vietnamese flavoring.
It tastes like, it really does remind me of something that meat is. And this tastes just like, I mean, even better than the Banh Mi's that I get. But it tastes just like the flavoring you got, the taste and texture you got, really, really good. It tastes better.
Do you like the bread? I baked this.
Oh, you did? Amazing.
Yeah, this is homemade bread. Well, yeah, I'm happy about the bread. Perfect crisp on the top. It could have been a little bit more crispy. Other than that, pretty good. The pate, phenomenal. It's exactly what I wanted out of the pate. Flavoring of the tofu came out exactly how I wanted. It's like a lemongrass.
Exactly,
lemongrass barbecued kind of flavoring.
Yeah.
Spot on. Favorite sandwich.
And I think I just got some jalapeno. That was great. Perfect.
This is on par with some of the best banh mi's I've had. Really good. Well, this is dinner.
Yay.
Yeah, boom.